Here we go. LOL Retake Part 3 coming up shortly. So it's not awful that I keep messing up. Alright, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to LOL Retake, a show where we take a look at the most recent LCS games, talk about some of the teams, and a bit of the news we'll start with. So first up, Team Liquid's jungler I Will Dominate step down as their jungler. Dardoch has been their starting jungler this past weekend. I do believe Dominate will be starting this upcoming weekend, but I am unsure. In other news, a lot of visa issues have been hitting the European and North American scene as players like Froggen, Freeze, and now Diamond Prox, they are not able to compete due to their visa issues. What do you guys think about that?
Yeah, that's really unfortunate that teams are losing due to effectively just red tape or bad management. I mean, I don't want to go point a finger at orgs. I know there's been a lot of issues with visas in the past that have just been completely out of their control, but it's really unfortunate to see great players hamstrung in their in the limelight just because of paperwork. It's unfortunate.
Yeah, it, I was gonna add on to that. It does suck. I mean, it's you have such great players that aren't playing. I mean,
Yeah,
you're losing so much potential, and I know with a lot of people with fantasy drafts, like they have some of those people, and it's just they're not playing. So
yeah. The Russian
it's
visas have been an issue for a while
And
it
since
then
they're
does
not a part
suck.
of the EU.
uh, most recently, Dignitas's top laner, Smitty J, has been benched due to disciplinary issues. Their starting top laner is now Billy Boss, so if you have him in
Mm-hmm.
your fantasy lineup, you might want to switch those guys out.
Yeah.
And now that
Yeah.
we've covered the news, let's get into some of last week's matches. So we'll get more into the teams in a couple minutes, but Chandler, what was your top pick this past week?
In terms of just like teams or
Top matchup from this past week?
top matchup, probably the C9 CLG match. I mean, I absolutely love both these teams. I love. I think my favorite top laner of like the entire LCS is Darshan. Like I loved him back when he was Zion Spartan. I mean, he's fantastic. I love him. Balls does have a place in my heart, especially with that Darius pentakill he did grab last season. But I love Darshan.
Yeah, we should coordinate this better because I actually picked the exact same game. I've been a Cloud9
Wow.
fan since forever, and C9 is doing great when they play high. They've won both games. The GP pick by Darshan was really interesting that C9 let that through. That has like almost 100% ban rate across all the
Yeah.
regions. Darshan had some weird decisions. Like he didn't do too well in that matchup against Balls because I mean Gangplank is relatively weak early, and I was also surprised because Stixay usually does really well, and he kind of didn't that game. Like, I don't think it was necessarily CLG's game to lose. It was more Cloud9's game to win. The pressure from Rush and the shot calling from high just kind of solidified that win. There was a bit of fuzzy calling at the Baron call. I don't know what the heck they were doing with that, where they blew 4 flashes and then went back into the fight. Other than that, it was a really solid game from C9, and I look forward to seeing them in next week's games as well.
All right, and along with some of the other games. So the Immortals NRG game. That was one of my favorite games this past week. I like NRG's new lineup, the lineup coming out of them, but it was the first team to actually decide which one is now undefeated, which is now Immortals.
Yeah.
Yeah, that
I
was a very interesting game to watch. I was surprised because NA can't play Rengar, and yet Immortals proves time and time again that they can just somehow break all the rules. They're the first like super team. I know we use that kind of lightly with Elements last season, and then Immortals, and we had Winter Fox that didn't really work out. But for some reason, just Immortals is dominating. I mean, they can kind of just pick all these different comps. I don't know if it's because of Pobelter or if it's because of the Huni Reignover synergy, but they just managed to somehow dominate every game.
Yeah.
I suspect them to go 6-0,
Chandler, what do you think?
including next week.
uh, my thoughts exactly. I mean, Immortals is literally what their name is. I mean, they're gonna be immortal. Like, I think that this is the first team since SKT that actually has the best shot at winning worlds. I mean, I know we just surpassed week 2, but I mean,
Four
it's
games.
4
It's
games,
a
yeah.
long shot.
yeah, I know, but it's like with the way that they're playing and the character and just the people that are in it. I mean, it's
Mm-hmm.
it's incredible. I mean, this is such a deadly team, and I mean, like I said, we haven't seen a team like this since like SKT when they first like started rolling out and really started getting into it. I mean,
Yeah.
it's kind of terrifying.
So
It's
let's talk
also
about some of the top teams on the table right now. So we'll start with Europe. There are currently 3 teams, or actually, I think it's 5 teams tied for first. Who do you guys think this next week is going to take the first spot?
Uh, that's actually tough.
yeah, that's a
um,
really tough one.
I'm actually I was shocked when Friday was over that Fnatic was the lowest. Like, I mean, that's actually who I had for one of the teams going pretty much all the way, like basically to where they got to last year. But to see them 2-2, I mean,
Yeah, it's rough.
that's kind of incredible. But I mean, for a team that will actually push through, I'm gonna say that Origin. I like
Mm-hmm.
Origin. I think they're great. So
Yeah,
All right,
I
Owen,
mean,
what do you think about the
Europe
EU teams?
Europe has always been a really volatile region. Like, there's just roster swaps mid-season and just craziness. I mean, Fnatic obviously would have a hard time following up last season with their drastic changes. I mean, losing Huni and Reignover. Um, I'm kind of tugging towards Unicorns of Love just because they have a fairly unique playstyle in their aggression that other teams can't really copy. So I feel like they're the hardest to adapt to. So in the long run, even if there's buffs and nerfs, they're probably going to prevail. But I definitely think it's too early to tell with how insane this region is. It's just a whirlpool of great teams, and we'll have to see how it pans out. I don't think you can really predict it even.
And so for NA, the way that the standings are at are Immortals are in first, NRG are in second, and then we have 5 teams tied for third: CLG, Tip, Dig, Cloud9, and TSM. How do you think that's really going to shake up in this upcoming week?
Immortals is definitely going to go 6-0. I mean, I don't remember exactly
easy.
what their matchups were, but I think it was Impulse, if I'm not mistaken, and they've had just a strong showing so far. They get Janna every game. They get these crazy power picks, and they just pull it off. Um, I'm not expecting much out of Echo Fox or Renegades, personally.
Um, personally, and I know this is going to be like a huge fanboy type thing. I do want to see C9 do better than the rest of them. I mean, I know it's not going to happen because I know Immortals is the powerhouse, and it just won't happen. But I would like to see C9 try to break away from the rest of the tie and push to second place, like actual second place. We're not tied with anyone, but the likelihood of that happening, probably not that high. No reference to their supporter at all, but I mean it's going to be rough for sure.
Yeah,
All right,
definitely.
so now that we talked about the top of the table, let's go with some of the bottom teams. So in last place for Europe is Giants. They haven't actually picked up a win yet. and then Origin, Roccat, and Splice are tied for 7th. Who do you guys think is going to be able to maybe jump out or stay down in the bottom half of the bracket? Chen?
I mean, it's rough when it comes to a lot of the lower teams in the EU LCS. Just because I mean, it's once a team starts going, like especially the high roll teams, I mean, they can't stop. I mean, I think Giants will probably be the next one to come out from the lowest, but like I said, it's rough.
See, I'm gonna disagree on that. I don't think Giants has anything. Like, I don't know what it is with them, but they just don't seem to be able to find any objectives. They don't find kills. They just kind of fall apart. Rocket might have a shot to jump out of the 1-3 curse that these three teams have found themselves in this tie, but I'm not really hedging any bets on any of them. It's a really tough region, and again, the top teams are just kind of punishing anyone who's below average.
And let's go to NA. Basically the last 3 teams tied for 8th are Renegades, Liquid, and Echo Fox, who have been struggling with roster swaps mostly.
Yeah.
Do you think that once they are able to figure out what's going on with their team, that they'll be able to jump up with some of the higher teams, compete with like NRG or Immortals?
Well, I'm gonna jump in here. I've been following
Yeah.
Renegades for ages. I'm a huge fan of RF Legendary, owned by Monte Cristo, and I expected a lot more from this team. Although them jumping right out of the Challenger Series, I didn't. I'm not like, oh, they're gonna go 18-0 their first split. Like, I had realistic expectations. I don't know about this split, but I definitely think assuming they do not get relegated, they're going to have a stronger next split. It's really tough for these new players jumping into the LCS who haven't had experience, especially players like RF Legendary or Remilia, where they haven't been in LCS. They haven't been on the stage. They haven't been playing at LAN. Remy missed a bunch of WQ combos on Alistair, and I don't think that's because she's bad mechanically. We've seen her do that amazingly. It's just them playing on LAN. They're new to it. They're fresh. I think they're going to have the hardest time climbing out.
All right, Chandler?
Personally, I would like to see Echo Fox start to climb out. I mean, we all had a talk earlier about Keith, their ADC, and I did have him picked for my fantasy, and I thought he was going to do really good. It seems that he is starting to fall behind just because the team, the matchups, they do get kind of hard matchups. But I mean, it will be interesting to see kind of how they go as well. Like I said, I would love to see them go farther than they are now, really prove that they can go. But I guess we'll have to see.
Mm-hmm.
I'll actually make a case for Team Liquid since they're the only team left. Phoenix has proven he's one of the strongest mid laners in NA right now. We all remember last season that quadra kill he got against CLG on Azir.
Oh, yeah.
It was terrifying.
His Azir is godlike.
Once they get more of a cohesive team, I think they should start Dardoch, because he had a very impressive performance this past weekend, and start Smoothie, because I don't think Matt is as good mechanically as Smoothie is, and there's just a lot of, I guess, nerves for a bunch of these new players.
Mm.
But I think in the next upcoming weeks, once Liquid sort of solidifies their roster, they're going to be able to go really far ahead. And so a lot of us are very into LoL fantasy, so let's take a look at some of the high performers and lowest. So first of all, the highest performer this past week was Elements Mr. Rawlez, the 80 carry. He put up almost 60 points in their 2 games.
Did
that surprise any of you guys?
Yeah.
This new Elements roster all of a sudden just skyrocketing.
Yeah, I mean, I was blown away. I thought, because even with the plays that we have seen, I mean, I didn't think it was going to be him at all. I mean, especially with Pole Belter pulling through on mid lane, it was crazy, and I'm shocked, really.
Yeah, I was really impressed with Mr. Rawley's. They got him Kalista twice, and he just ran with that. I don't expect anyone to leave that unbanned for the rest of the split. Like, Kalista has been a traditionally strong AD carry, and especially in this meta where you're kind of dealing with the tanks in the front line, but he just took it to the nth degree and ran away with that. I was really impressed.
The lowest player this past week has actually been Renegade support Remelia. She put up just under 10 points in their 2 mostly disappointing games. How do you guys feel? Do you think that she's going to bounce back if they leave Thresh open for her?
Mm. See, I
I
was really
mean,
excited after the first week because Remy did pretty well, actually, especially considering she didn't get Thresh. I don't know if it was both games or one game, but I think that the reason that she's so low in the fantasy is she kind of is giving a lot of value to that team in non-measurable ways. Like she's not getting gold, she's a support. A lot of headbutts and pulverizes to save teammates, a lot of suicide ults, and risky plays that they needed to try and climb out of the hole that they ended up in. But I'm not super surprised that she ended up at the bottom. I mean, it's a support from a team at the bottom of the ladder. You can't really expect them to pull out crazy numbers, especially playing someone like Alistair.
Chandler, your
yeah.
thoughts?
I wasn't too shocked when I did see that she wasn't last. I mean, it's especially when she focuses herself way too much on Thresh. If she's really expecting that pick, I mean, if the other teams know anything about Renegades at all, I mean, they're going to try to ban away as much as their comfortable picks as possible. I mean, it's not, you can't get the most comfortable picks or else games would go on forever. I mean, you have
Especially
to
with a
have
lot
these
of the roster
bans.
swaps that have been happening.
Mm-hmm.
They kind of
Yeah,
have to get
Yeah.
used to Laud until Freeze is able to come back.
Mm-hmm.
yeah,
Yeah, the loss of freeze definitely affected them. And
So,
Remy has the mechanical skill. It's just there's something wrong with the team composition, which we can't know without hearing their comms or
yeah.
being in their gaming house. So we'll see how it pans out.
yeah.
So, who do you guys have as your sleeper picks for this week?
Oh
Mm,
boy.
yeah.
Um, I mean, one of the ones that I'm really banking on, and I'll even go right to my fantasy league for it. It's I'm definitely kind of hoping that Keith will make a comeback, and because I have him as my sub right now, hoping he can get me some points. Or I would love to see Paul Belter keep going with the way he is. I mean, the last game that we saw, it was incredible. I mean, the entire Immortals team obviously is just by far amazing, but Paul Belter in specific, I'm really hoping on him.
Owen,
Yeah.
any sleeper picks?
I don't have much of a sleeper pick here because it's Wild Turtle, and we all know how good he is. But
Yeah.
Immortals is amazing. They're going up against Renegades on Saturday and
Ugh.
Echo Fox on Sunday. So, if you're not running Pobelter and Wild Turtle, you're nuts. Like you just
Yeah.
gotta pick them up.
Yeah.
I am actually gonna. My sleeper picks this week are some of the members of Dignitas, more specifically Shifter, possibly Billy Boss, because he did play on Sunday and he had an amazing game for for the win on Sunday. And
Yep.
I just think Dignitas have a very solid lineup right now with Apollo, Kirei. I've actually followed Kirei a little bit. I did some work in the EU Challenger series, so I did have to follow what he was up to. He's a very competent jungler. I think that he's just kind of shaking his nerves off from moving continents, and he's just trying to get into his
Yeah.
groove. And I think once he does that, the Dignitas lineup is just going to be able to beat some of the bigger teams. I think that they could have beaten NRG given a couple weeks more time.
Yeah.
And I think that
Yeah,
they're
I
gonna
agree.
keep playing well.
Yeah, Shifter puts up really good numbers, especially considering the fact that they're 2-2. I mean, Dignitas isn't running away with games like Immortals is, and yet Shifter manages to get this gold, get these kills, and do a really good job for his team, despite them not winning every game.
So let's talk about this upcoming week. We've seen a lot of teams perform really well. Elements with their new roster, Dignitas with like Shifter has been performing really well. What games are you guys really interested in watching?
C9 TSM. Uh, easiest easiest pick out of this entire lineup. I mean, especially with the new TSM lineup. I mean, it should be interesting because they really have had a lot of battles, obviously back last season. But I'm really, like I said, I'm really banking on Cloud9 starting to actually start to pick up. Um, although TSM is still doing really great. I mean, it should be a great game.
Yeah, I actually had the same game picked for my NA game, the C9 VTSM. I swear I'm not a C9 fanboy. I'm a C9 fanboy. They're feeling high, I think, for this one. So this is going to kind of establish which of the two teams in NA is going to kind of break away. I mean, Dignitas isn't involved, but someone's going up and someone's going down. So those
Yeah.
are always exciting when tied teams go against each other. And it's going to be really interesting as far as developing the middle of the pack teams, or maybe pushing one higher, closer to NRG or Immortals. Well, okay, not Immortals, NRG. And Europe, I'm really excited for UOL versus Elements. They're both 3-0, or sorry, 3-1. Legendary AD carries Steelback and Mr. Raleigh's in the bot lane. I'm going to expect a bloodbath. Both of these teams play to kill and to win, especially leaning a bit more towards Unicorns of Love, but um, high pressure, great carries, just dueling it out in the bot lane.
Yeah, I guess we'll jump right into the EU as well. I mean, I'm really excited for the G2 Fnatic game. Hopefully we'll put this Fnatic to 3-2 on that game and put another loss into G2. But I I'm really kind of worried about it, especially with Reckless. I mean, he's starting to get thrown off just a little bit. I mean, I've been watching the games pretty closely with him, and it's starting to worry me. But I think this game will definitely put him back.
All right. So as always, games will start on Thursday, 12 o'clock Eastern Standard Time for the European games on Thursday and Friday, and the North American games will start Saturday and Sunday, 3 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. And that does it for tonight. Thank you for dealing with our technical difficulties. Thanks to our guests Chandler and Owen, and thanks to EGF for doing this production. If you guys want, you can follow us on Twitch, Facebook, and Twitter. Those are all in the description below. And from all of us here at EGF, thank you all for watching. You can watch us next week, 9:30, where we will have a new episode of Retake for you guys. My name's Jared Warnke, and I hope you guys have a nice night.